idea of what Herman Cain is doing, I think what it does is that it splits up the black vote. You know, it's more of where you can kind of shake that camp as far as Obama having a clutch on most of the African American vote, but it doesn't even matter at that point in time to be a nominee that splits it, as long as it's Republicans have their policy.
Yeah, like what was it, like the 1901 election when Roosevelt split it with somebody, I don't remember. But one thing that does, especially about that question in relation to civil rights, that worries me is that I don't like the idea of a post-civil rights society. Yeah. And I think that's what they're really trying to stress.
Exactly. I think that it's very unrealistic, and I think that's what's happening. What Herman Cain is saying is that racism is not really real anymore. Like, you reach a point of where, okay, everything's good. We got to this point, African Americans are not being racially discriminated in the workplace.
I'm a president of a pizza place.
I feel like when you sign that dot, at the actual employment and application, that's another way of profiling you.
Okay.
And I mean, the reality of the situation is that racism still exists in different indeterminate forms. And I think that when he does that, what he does is he tries to, in a sense, desensitize individuals and make them behave in a desired manner so where they're unaware of the reality of what exists from a collective global perspective. I think that it's definitely dangerous too, as far as
almost
that mentality.
Brainwashing.
Oh, it's exactly. And you have, I mean, but when you think about it, you're seeing a man who had that formula for sex. He has a very interesting story, and he was very successful economically. But the reality of the situation is that poverty is more of where the only way you can really escape destitute poverty is through kind of like unconventional means.
Waiting for Superman.
Yeah, I mean, you could say selling cocaine or something like that is more of where you're doing something, because the reality of the situation is that aside from your living expenses, most of the money is inherited, or it's just how
that's what it is.
It's very difficult for the economic ladder. It's not as easy as people make it seem. When you have this idea of where you have this formula for success, you go to college and you have a job already waiting for you. All you need to do is get your bachelor's and you're okay. You build up and save. But that idea, a lot of what's happening in Wall Street is that most of these students who are acquiring massive amounts of student debt, and the student debt that is being acquired nationally is, if I'm not mistaken, more than the billions.
Sure.
Probably in the trillions. Definitely.
You do something super and sell coke, and then you can really achieve.
I mean, the way how even the judicial system set up is more of where when you commit petty crimes, you get the most punishment in comparison. The penal code is so disproportionate.
Yeah, you're right.
It's more of where you can steal millions of dollars, and you can get soft time.
Yeah, if you steal $300. You get the same sentence if you steal, 5,000.
What it shows is a reflection of the mentality of where you have this face value of the American dream of what this is what you're supposed to do, and people who understand that the only way you're to get over in this country is if you're on the top stealing the most, or you're in the bottom stealing the most through welfare and through relying, through using intentional welfare, as a system for
like Huntsman brings
economic.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Huntsman brings up that he believes in global warming.
Yeah. He
believes in science, and what does that do? It completely alienates him from almost the entire Republican base. You know what I mean? So, but Herman Cain can say, well, I don't necessarily believe in, not necessarily say he doesn't believe in civil rights, but let's be honest, he's not an advocate for it, especially for its perpetuation in modern society where women are still oppressed. The black male is still greatly oppressed. Homosexuals, immigrants, and the environment for that matter. Or in animal rights, we could even get into that. So where is his repercussion? Is there any loss for him in terms of his political clout?
Well, I mean, the reality of the situation is that when you look at it, it seems more of where he has a lot of his selfish interests as far as what he's doing. And the way how I've kind of observed that is that typically, when you look at the Tea Party, who's been, in a sense, really regarded as racist, the reality of the situation is that when you look at it with Herman Cain, he just seems more of a blackface character to me. More of where you have this black suit of, this coagulated
minstrel show.
You have that, it's what it seems to me is more of like it's just a demonstration. It's really hard to explain, but you have to really look at it from a political standpoint to kind of make a lot more sense.
But is that fair?
I mean, of course it's fair. It's politics.
I mean, but you're capable of doing that because not only are you an intellect, but I mean, this is sort of what you're gearing your life towards.
But here's where it
becomes
becomes
average
dangerous.
Person.
It becomes dangerous when you confuse, intellectualism with, in a sense, political jargon. You know, let's just basically say that. You know,
Okay.
I think that, you know, when you feed certain things to people,
Okay.
people are not able to differentiate between what's real and what's not.
Okay.
And I think that in the eyes of many Americans, when you're telling people, okay, look, racism's over with.
Yeah.
You know, people just see things how it was. Like we didn't just out of escape, but this happened generations ago. I mean, it's not really even plausible to even have
So
that as an
then
argument.
maybe you could even blame like for
It
that.
shows, you know,
Yeah.
it definitely shows. I think that, you know, he takes such a hardcore stance on where you see the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
It's there where he's trying to appease to the white Tea Partiers
Yeah.
and have that vote solidified.
Absolutely,
you know,
because they're
Oh,
just
yeah.
as powerful voting as anyone else. And you really make me see something that I didn't see in that. Maybe Obama is sort of to blame and his success for
It's very interesting.
what Herman
These
Cain
are
is
very
having.
deep topics, you know, when you even think about it, because it calls you to identify what is really you being black in America. Is it about your social behavior, or is it your skin pigment? And I think that what is being used in some sense is more people use that as either a defense mechanism, or people use that in respect to Obama as a way to get both voters. How to appeal to everybody, how to appeal to the general Catholic. Okay, how do you make everybody happy? And you know, it's very interesting, you know, because what you get fed is a lot of, you know, rhetoric in a sense, and you see actions that aren't really designed to have a benefit towards you or where you identify yourself politically.
So what would it do if it did end up being Cain and Obama? What do you think?
It'd be the first time where you get two generally
I mean,
African Americans. You know, I mean, I think it'd be very symbolical. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at it in respect to America, America's founded off a country of bloodlust and slavery. When you think of the institution of slavery economically, I can bring it up, you know, because I understand that the reality is that money passes down from generation to generation.
It's the same money,
and that's just how it is.
It
You know,
hasn't left,
and